Very important medical disclaimer. Information provided in this podcast is for educational purposes only and does not substitute for professional medical advice. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health care provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment before undertaking a new health regimen. Welcome to the Holistic Health Explained podcast. I'm your host, Shante Fox, and my guest for today's episode is my longtime friend, Bird Mejia, with Art of Balance. Bird is the first in 500 years on her indigenous Mexican side who can safely say she works as a medicine woman. She is a teacher. She is a guide. Welcome to the show, Bird.
Thank you, Shante. It's so beautiful to be here.
Thank you. I guess it's fitting that you are my very first guest, being that we kind of started on this holistic journey, holistic path around the same time, but for very different reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but before we actually get into all that, I'd like for you to share just a little fun fact about yourself that maybe not everybody knows about you.
Well, I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this for those listening because there's a quote by Joseph Campbell that says, "The cave that you're afraid to enter holds your greatest treasure." So this is a message for you. My greatest fear all my life was being on camera. When I was in the third grade, we had an oral report we had to do in front of the class, and the teacher recorded it. And back then it was just an audio recording, and I heard my voice, and I was mortified. Like, I was just mortified at the sound of my voice. And after that, I hated being recorded. So even when I had to do reports as a child, like, I would be the little girl that was in front of the class, just my hands were shaking. And then I remember in high school one time, one of the boys, and I wasn't ever popular in high school, he said to me, "You were shaking." I said, "Yeah." Like, enormously. So every time someone put a camera out, I put my hands up and I was out the door. So the very first time I was actually in camera was actually with you, Shante.
Was it?
We were at a networking meeting, and the assignment was get on. You have
That's right.
2 minutes, and you're going to be on live, and that. Yeah, so those that watch me, I'm very active on social media, and it's part of my magic to teach people through video. And most people don't even believe it anymore. That they're like, I can't believe
Right.
that's your thing. It's
Seems
because
very natural to you now.
Yes, but the same thing. I mentioned this because I'm a teacher, and if you're listening to this, my guess is that you have something that you may be afraid of. You have some, I call that medicine for yourself and for others that you might not know about, and it might be actually be something that scares you. So the cave you're afraid to enter holds your greatest treasure. So
I love that.
I just wanted to plant that seed because at some point there may be something that you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, and you might find that that's your magic.
Well, I can totally relate to that because I revealed in my first episode, that was kind of my interview with myself, just explaining how I got into this journey, that I'm an introvert and it's very difficult for me to even start this podcast because of that. But I don't ever let, as you know, I don't let that hold me back from doing the things that I'm really passionate about and want to do. It might take me some time to get there,
Yes.
but I just go for it eventually. So I think another little fun fact that we can tell our listeners is that you and I actually met years and years ago in a mom's group, Mocha Moms.
Yes.
If anybody's familiar with that group. I don't even know if they're still around or not. Probably. But both of our daughters were like, what were they, about 5 years old?
5 years old, yeah.
And now they're both 20 years old, grown up and doing well, making their own decisions, living their lives. It's crazy. But, well, thank you again for being here. I appreciate it very much. So there's a lot that we could probably talk about today because we have a lot of history, and we both have gone through, a lot on this journey. I know you've definitely gone through a huge transformation from the time that I first met you. But for the sake of time, I'll stick to the topic of the show and talk about what your expertise is in the holistic health industry. So if you can tell us to get started, what first got you started on this journey and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I think for a lot of us, I was in so much pain, emotional pain. I was in a very long, emotionally abusive marriage when you and I met, right? I had no idea. I used to cry every week. Like, it just was painful. And I was trying to keep it together for my daughter, doing the different things. And it got so bad at some point that I was like, I need to do something to heal, and I ended up signing up for a gentle yoga class. It ended up being something called Shakti Nam Yoga, and they taught, it's kind of like Kundalini yoga, and it's taught by Dr. Joseph Michael Levry, brilliant, and it teaches a lot of breath work and mantra and meditation, sound meditation, and that completely changed my life. And then I started diving deeper and deeper and deeper into my own healing journey. Left the marriage, and then that was a whole other. Like, it was very challenging. Like, a lot of things happened, and so much healing. But the biggest thing that actually happened, I think this is actually probably the most significant event in my life. Was 5 years ago. It kind of still in the middle of my healing journey. My mother went into the doctor for a stomach ache, and we thought she was in perfect health. And she was diagnosed with 4-stage cancer and died 35 days later. Wow. And that changed things because I started connecting with her, and I started being shown visions and dreams of the trauma on my mother's. And this one is in her indigenous Mexican side and her lineage. And I was shown how the trauma goes from generation to generation to generation to generation. So I'm trained in lots of healing modalities, but the one I'm most passionate about is ancestral trauma. And I say that I'm the first in 500 years that on that side that can actually safely say that I work as a medicine woman. And like, it wasn't safe. And that is also the magic. I like to teach other people because all of us come from lineages that there were gifts that the men and women have. And, medicine man, medicine woman, there were gifts that were forgotten. They were dangerous. They had to be shoved down. And they're being remembered now. And they show up different for all of us. But one of my gifts is connecting with ancestors and helping people dig in and helping people heal and helping people remember. I'm really good at knowing and feeling into people and helping them connect with their hearts, help them heal their hearts, open their hearts, and remember what their magic is.
Nice. Can you explain a little bit more about what exactly is a medicine woman for those who don't understand what that means?
Yes, I would love to explain that. So a medicine woman, like, that sounds like, whoo, what is it? Scary sometimes, and my family line, that would be like, whoo, what is she doing? Is this some kind of witchcraft or bruja? No, a medicine woman would have been the woman in our past. These were the wise older women, right? Mm-hmm. These were like the therapists, the ones that you went to talk to. These were the herbalists, right? These were the ones that made magic in the kitchen with the plant medicine. And I am not talking psychedelic plant medicine. I'm talking about the plant medicine of the herbs and the plants, right? They knew what kind of stuff to feed the children. If you had a headache, you would do these different things. The medicine women were sometimes the ones that were the birth doulas that gave birth to the children, or the death doulas that helped with that. So these were, and sometimes some of the medicine women also really could connect. They were the healers that could help people heal. Yeah. Everyone has their own gifts. So for me, medicine woman is a kind of a broad range, right. And everybody has their own medicine. If you're watching this, you're listening to this, you have your own medicine. You might not know what your medicine is, but I believe it's kind of like your gift, right? All of us are born with some type of medicine. What I mean by medicine is not like the medicine that you get at the doctor's. It's the medicine that is your gift to help you to heal. To heal means to become balanced in body, mind, soul. You have a gift that helps yourself become balanced in body, mind, spirit, and you can help others. So that's largely, and another thing too is a medicine woman, and I could say medicine person, right? Because it's women, but it's also men, right? And it's all genders, whatever you define yourself as, in that kind of way. But these were the ones in the society that helped keep people balanced, that helped us to be whole and healed. And in a lot of cultures, the medicine people were brutalized and sometimes murdered. And so the traditions were stopped. And, even like the intuitive gifts in my lineage, and my mother had a very strong, she just knew things. And, some of us are, clairaudient, we hear things. Some of us are cognizant, we just know things. There's different kind of intuitive gifts. But even that is part of the medicine. Like when I'm listening to my own intuition and I'm receiving messages for myself, it's guiding me, like, go this way, don't go this way, follow this. And it gets to be my medicine to help me on my journey. So, and then some medicine people actually do have the medicine, right? Like, some of us are herbalists and, naturopaths, and they know that, this is what's going on, do this is going to help you with this. But also, by the time something shows up in your body, by the time an illness shows up in your body, it's been in your energy field for a long time.
Right.
So a lot of times, a medicine person can feel into the energetics, like what's going on, right? Like, for example, things that are related to the heart, and most humans eventually die of some heart-related something. This is around, like, hearts that are hurt, hearts that are blocked, hearts that have closed up, right? And there's been a lot of heartbreaks in sometimes our own lives, but if we look back, and why this is so important, some people are like, why does it matter what happened to your ancestors? Well, scientists have proven through epigenetics, and this is not woo-woo, not like hypothesis, they're proving this scientifically, that trauma can live in the DNA up to 14 generations.
Right, yes.
And that's what I was shown. What I was shown in my lineage was about 7 generations ago, about 500 years ago, it was about 700, and I was actually shown what happened, and it was something so horrific, and I was shown how it was passed down from woman to woman to woman to woman, and it showed up with my mother and how she was not able to mother me in the way that I really needed her to, and what eventually caused her death. And then it showed up even, for me, like the marriage that I was in, the marriage that I chose, I had to take a look at that. I'm like, why did I choose this? My father was a very loving, kind, amazing man. But then my mother died, I looked at my grandfather, and I realized, I repeated the same relationship as my grandmother was in, the same relationship my mother grew up in. So when a woman's pregnant with a child, whatever she's going through gets passed on to the baby in her belly, right?
Right.
But also, if it's a girl, it gets passed on to the eggs. So we're receiving the trauma, whatever. If you can just imagine, what was your grandmother going through? What was your mother going through? That's the energy that gets passed on, So
it's not even necessarily enough even now to just work on your own trauma. You really need to go back, right, and understand fully what your ancestors, your family members have been through to clear that energy and disconnect from that.
Yes, and the same thing. I don't know that everybody actually needs to actually go back, but I think it's important to understand that what you might be experiencing, whether you're experiencing, depression or, mental illness or anxiety or showing up in your body. I know for me, it helps me to understand, like, this might not be all my stuff, because I know I get hard. I'm like, what's wrong with me? How come I'm experiencing this? Why can't I figure this out? But I call those of us that are really doing the deep work, generational pattern breakers, right? We're the ones that have the hearts that are strong enough to dive deep. And sometimes it can be hard. You're like, oh, this is too much. Well, yeah, but your heart's strong enough. Like you get to do this work. And when you heal yourself, you heal the 7 generations before you and the 7 generations after you. And you actually impact everybody in your family. So for example, if you're a mother or a father, even if you are in your 90s and your children are in their 70s, you're always connected through your heart to your children, right? So if you do the healing, whatever you do is impacting those you love. So when you exit this experience we call life and you've done the deep work, it's impacting everybody. So it's really, really, really powerful.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love it. So tell us a little bit about what you do as a medicine woman, as a teacher, as a guide. What do you do with people who come to you and work with you? How do you help them? How do you help them on their journey?
I do a couple things. So I have different experiences. Sometimes I do one-on-one mentoring and guidance, and I will work with you one-on-one, and I will just kind of take an inventory and intuitively feel into what road and what I want to teach you, what you need to learn. And then I also do group experiences. So I have a group coaching experience called the Six Sun Collective, and I also do different trainings. Right now, I'm doing a medicine woman training. I might be doing an ancestral healing type training in the fall. I always kind of listen to what's being guided, but I usually have one-on-one experiences and then group experiences to teach and to guide, and also to help us heal in community, because that's something that also is being healed. A lot of times we've been taught to be alone, right? And some of us are really powerful, we've done really well in our careers, or we've done really well as mothers, or as whatever it may be. But we're still not connected to others. We have, I think we look at the trees and we think, oh, the tree is solitary, and we become like these mighty trees. But what we don't understand is underneath the trees, all the trees are connected to every other tree for miles along. And when that tree, that's the mother tree, is really strong and she grows tired and weak, it's the other trees that may look like the weaker trees that actually feed her the sap and actually hold her up. And this is where we are doing that. So I do that. I also do personal sessions if people want to come to me. Retreats. I do lots, but my focus right now is on a lot of my training and my teaching. And when you're in my energy, I can intuitively feel. It's when I talk about medicine, one of my medicines is that if you're in my presence, I can look into your eyes. I can kind of get an idea, and I can feel in a short conversation what is needed. And I've been trained in lots of healing modalities. I'm trained in Reiki, I'm trained in chakra healing, I'm trained in breathwork meditation, I'm trained in, and also I have 2 master's degrees, and my first training was 2 classes away from, and in my internship, and getting my master's degree in psychotherapy. So I have graduate work in psychotherapy. Something actually happened in that, and I said, something's not right about this. I don't want to do this. And I think what I realized then, way back when I was still in my late 20s, was that there was something else missing. And therapy is beautiful, but I feel like we're missing other pieces, because therapies, I don't know if you know anyone, but I know some people that have been in therapy 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and nothing changes, right? Yes. I mean, it's nice to have someone, and not to discount therapists. There's some amazing therapists, and there's a lot of benefit, but there's other pieces, and, some of that energetic. So I combine all of them, and when people come to me, I can intuitively feel into like, oh, okay, so I always individualize something for somebody. And if it's in a group, I kind of do the same thing, and I'll kind of guide the group. And, even if it's a group experience, it's not an accident that you're with the others that you are at the same time. If you come to retreat, it's not an accident that you're coming at the same time. Whatever experience you're participating in with me, all of us have medicine for each other. But, a lot of times your medicine is what you need to heal yourself, to free yourself, to be balanced in body, mind, spirit. Right? I mean, it's really about being balanced and whole, and making sure that the stuff's not in alignment with the body, right? So that the disease doesn't show up. Even the aging. Well, why do we have to grow old and decrepit and ill? And the scientists have proven,
we don't have to.
We don't have to. Dr. Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden talk a lot about that, about reversing the aging process. That aging is cyclical, not linear. So all these things. But so I guess my medicine is I'm good at understanding what medicine and how I want to guide somebody to discover their own medicine. And I'm very good at it. It's just I receive the intuition. The ancestors are with me when I guide people. It's kind of like playing. I don't know. It's kind of magical. I can just kind of put it together. But that's part of my magic.
Yeah.
And
it's your gift.
It's my gift. Yeah.
Very beautiful. Okay. Well, I thank you so much for coming on today's show with us. I know you're in the midst of a big relocation, so I truly appreciate you taking the time to sit and chat with me a little bit today. I know you're really, really busy right now. Maybe you can tell our listeners how they can find you or reach you if they're interested in working with you or participating in one of your retreats one day.
You can access me on the social media platforms and my website and YouTube. It's all under my name. So it's very simple. It's Bird, which is like a bird, B-I-R-D, and Mejia, which is Mexican, is M-E-J-I-A. So Bird Mejia. And, I'm on most of the social media platforms, and my website will always list what I'm doing. And, a lot of the things too, I'm very passionate about teaching and giving people tools to help us get through these times. We're in a really powerful transformational time right now. Yeah. So, check out, even the YouTube. I'm going to be posting more there, but the social media for the tools and the information about what exactly is going on right now. And I like to give tools. My goal is for you to understand your own magic, your own medicine, and for you to fly. That's why Bird is very metaphorical for me, because in this lifetime, I am flying, which means I am living my best life. I am accessing joy. I'm leaving behind the stuff in my own life and in my lineage that is heavy and weighted and that hurts, right? Yes, we get to go through that. We're all human, but we don't have to keep carrying it. I want to pass this on to the generation, but if you come in contact with me, this is also your medicine, and I want you to fly. So I'm really passionate about giving tools, as many tools as I can to help you fly, and go fly like highs. Fly as high as you can. And if you're going through something right now, if things are showing up, I do want to end with, you'll know that things are ancestral in your lineage when they're repeating patterns. If you've been around long enough, and you don't even have to be around, I mean, I've talked to people that are 20 years old that already see the repeating patterns. What are the repeating patterns in your life that are painful? That just keep showing up, right? Maybe it's the same relationship, the same, it could be the same, sometimes it shows up as addiction. Sometimes it shows up in the lineages as some type of disease that you just look at your own life, what keeps repeating.
Yeah.
What do you see repeating in your mother's life, your grandmother's life? If you see the patterns, those are often things that are ancestral. And, there's been studies. There's a woman that I love. Her name's Rabbi Dr. Tirza Firestone, and a lot of her ancestors were murdered in the Holocaust. And so it's Passion talks about the ancestral trauma. They've actually done studies with children, grandchildren of those that survived. And they've not talked, like young ones, 4 years old, so they haven't told them about anything that's happened. They haven't read about it. These children are having nightmares about burning in the fires and about starving to death, and their PTSD levels are the same. as their grandparents. Why? Because it hasn't been healed. What happens when a trauma happens, and we've all experienced that in our own lives, right? Something happens, someone dies unexpectedly, or the lover of our life just stops talking to us one day, something that hurts, and we just shove it down because we're not ready to. It's too much emotion, right? And then all of a sudden, a couple years, sometimes even 20 or 30 years come out, all of a sudden something comes up and you're like, oh, you're bawling, all this, or this rage is coming, you don't know what it is, right? Because it's been shoved down. But the previous generations, I feel like our generation now, we actually have the luxury to feel, to cry, previous generations didn't have that. They had to just to get up and survive and to move on. So, but I do want to end with that. So, just identify that.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that.
Be patient with yourself.
That's important. Yeah. Well, thank you all for tuning in to today's episode of Holistic Health Explained. Be well, my friends. Be well.